Hey everybody, it's Austin Ward with a special March Madness preview brought to you by Buyers Auto. I'm hanging out with two guys who know a little bit about Ohio State basketball, playing in March, playing in big games for the Buckeyes, Terence Dials and JJ Sullinger hanging out with us down here at Lettermen Row HQ. Guys, I think you have to say this season is already a success just getting in, right?
Yeah, I told you earlier, it's 3 different seasons. Obviously, we have the non-conference, the Big Ten, and now it's win or go home, you know?
JJ's your first time in here. What do you make of this Chris Holtmann squad and just the fact, you'd say they're an 11 seed. For Ohio State fans that want them to compete and go to a Final Four, you might think that's not that great of a season. For this particular team, it seems like it's pretty good.
That was great. It's his second year, and he hasn't gotten his his footprint in it yet. So he's taken over something that hasn't been Ohio State-ish lately. You know what I mean? But I think he's getting the best out of these guys. These guys play defense. They have scoring droughts and things like that. But as you've seen of late, we've scored the basketball in a few different ways. Having a big guy absolutely helps.
Yeah.
But I think what he's done is amazing.
Ohio State's going to open up that tournament there on Friday night in Tulsa against Iowa State, a 6-11 matchup. It doesn't have the famous upset connotations as 5 versus 12, but I don't know, just an early look at this matchup, guys. It seems like for Ohio State, they could have got a worse draw than this one. You look even at the 3 seed in this bracket, Houston, that's a potential winnable game if you get ahead of it. I know that Chris Holtmann will focus solely on Friday first, but when you guys saw this on Sunday night, what did you make of the bracket? Is there an opportunity here for the Buckeyes?
There's absolutely an opportunity. I think, having Caleb back gives us that inside presence that Iowa State necessarily doesn't have. They do score the ball well, but they've been on a losing skid before this tournament as well. So we don't know which Iowa State team's going to be there. It goes back to like the non-conference. They haven't seen us. They don't know us really well, which is in our favor because I think when teams haven't seen us, we play really well. And then that second round matchup against Houston, if Houston happens to win, I mean, that's a very winnable match, especially considering that Cincinnati just beat them. And I like to hang my hat that Cincinnati, lost to us early in the season. So that might give the guys some confidence, going into the game.
And there's another one, JJ, you look at for a common opponent there for Ohio State. Iowa State played Iowa. Now that's a rivalry game. They played at Iowa, but Iowa State lost by 14. And a couple weeks ago, we all saw Ohio State at probably its very best this year, beating Iowa by 20.
I mean, you have to pay attention to it. If you don't pay attention to it, you'll get burned. But on the flip side, you can't pay too much attention to it because the tournament, anything can happen. One thing I do like about our chances against Iowa State, T kind of alluded to it, we play defense. They don't really play that great a defense. You know what I mean? They score the basketball. They like to outscore their opponents. So we're definitely going to have a tough job trying to stop them from scoring. But we hang our hat on our defense, so I like our chances.
It's that Big Ten mentality, right? Like Ohio State's been through this ringer. Now it's 20 games. It's 2 games in Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get through that and you make the tournament, I would have to think that gives you, maybe as a player, a different mentality, different mindset that you've already seen some of the best in the country.
I think we're better prepared having to go through Michigan States, the Michigans, and all those schools. As you saw, we have 8 teams in the dance, which is the highest. So we've been preparing all season, all Big Ten season for this moment. So I think playing against tough teams is going to help us.
You look at this as we roll along here with our March Madness preview brought to you by Buyers Auto. JJ, if you look at this team, if people haven't been following them all year, you touched about on the defense a couple times. That's a Chris Holtmann trademark there. If you pinpoint one guy, and maybe it's Caleb Wesson, who throughout the rest of this season would you say is the MVP? Who's going to be an X factor against Iowa State on Friday?
You got to go with your seniors. You know what I mean? C.J. Jackson has stepped up tremendously towards the end of the season. He's had his ups and downs. But then you go with Woods as well. You know what I mean? He started knocking down some shots as you guys were talking about earlier. Anytime you get a guy who, wants to be there, he wants to be there. You know what I mean? He wants to be in the action. He wants the ball in his hands. Anytime you get a guy like that, it can be dangerous. So I'm looking forward to it.
TD, I think you're going more in the post there, aren't you?
Absolutely. I think you saw the difference that Caleb makes, having gone 3 games without him, 0-3, and then he comes back, we get a win. But we've been playing well with him. I think, he's our constant. He's our main scorer, main rebounder. and he draws the most attention. So if he plays well, I think the team has a great shot at winning. I think it's going to be a double team. He's going to have to pass that out, and hopefully we knock down some shots.
It's another example of just kind of the way this team has had to grow. You've seen the freshmen play a lot of minutes. And I'm just going to throw this out there for you guys. Justin Arns, I talked about the Iowa game. He explodes for 29 points. Dwayne Washington had his couple nights where he's knocking down threes. Luther Muhammad playing a lot in the starting lineup this year. I feel like even though we've talked about defense, seniors, Caleb Wesson, guys who've been through this before, it has this feel to me like some freshman's going to have to take that moment and step up.
I really like Dwayne. He has that no fear type attitude. He goes out there and he has an array of shots. I mean, dude can finish at the rim, but he's a great shooter. I think come tournament time, obviously no one knows who he really is. I think he has a shot to go out and knock some big shots down.
Anybody catching your eye out there from those freshmen, JJ?
I like Luther Muhammad. He plays hard, and he's fearless. You know what I mean? Sometimes people could mistake that for being out of control, but I just like his fearlessness, and he plays defense, man. He plays defense, and if he catches on fire, watch out.
And that guy will let you know about it too.
Yeah, he's that's why I like him so much.
Yeah, there you go. We're winding it down here in March Madness preview, brought to you by Buyers Auto. Got to put these guys on the spot. They're going to have their brackets. If you haven't filled those out, at lettermenrow.com. We're giving away some Beats, headphones for the first prize, and some Lettermen Row t-shirts and swag. So get in your entries this week before Thursday. Don't have to pick the play-in games in Dayton, and Ohio State's not in Dayton, so we can ignore that entirely. But Friday night, guys, Iowa State, Ohio State. You don't have to give us a national champion pick or your Final Four or anything like that. Just care about this one game. What do you think is going to happen? Can Ohio State, 6-point underdog against the Cyclones, can they pull it off?
Absolutely. I think they do. I think it's going to be a 74-68 matchup.
All right, flipping it around.
Ohio State's favor.
JJ, you got that shocked expression over there.
Man, I didn't think I had to come up with a score, but no, you know what? I think we're going to do. I think, like T said, they can't prepare for us the way that the Big Ten is prepared for us. We play well outside of conference. I like our chances. I'm gonna go Ohio State by 7.
You guys also remember we have the advantage in coaches. I think Coach Holtmann is absolutely a better coach.
I think that's one thing that I use it for football, right? It's like quarterback, coach, where's the game? For this one, you can't do it. It's a neutral site, but Chris Holtmann has earned the benefit of my doubt permanently. And Caleb Wesson, if he is playing at his very best, again, just going back to that Iowa game, he was a difference maker.
Absolutely.
That helped open up for everybody else. So with those two things going for him, make it 3 for 3. I think Ohio State's going to turn some heads here. Been through the test. We'll see what happens. If they're wrong, we'll just delete this from the internet later. So we appreciate JJ Sullinger and Terence Dials hanging out with us on a March Madness preview brought to you by Buyers Auto. Lettermen Row will have full coverage from Tulsa all weekend. I'll be there. Looking forward to head down to Oklahoma, see what Chris Holtmann and the Buckeyes can do against Iowa State. So for these guys, I'm Austin Ward. We'll see you down there in Oklahoma.